All right, welcome to Cosmic Tea Hour 999. This week starring Teresa Connolly Sider, Peter Marks, and our special guest. You're going to be so excited. I am excited beyond belief. We have a famous playwright joining us tonight,
From your
Linda
lips to God's
Kaufman.
ears. Yeah.
And I want everybody to know this woman is creative on a multitude of levels. She writes, she directs, she's got her own one woman show. I wanted to give you a little bit background. My phone hasn't been working so well today. But anyway, Linda Kaufman has been writing music for theater since 1993. She is an award-winning composer for two of her original musicals, as well as the writer-composer of Senior Moments, which have had 6 productions around the country, and is currently touring her one-woman show, Count It All Joy. And if you want to know more about this extraordinary woman, you can go to www.lindakaufmanmusicals.com.
I don't know.
Without further ado, what's that?
I was going to say, I don't know if you would like to, but I found something from Linda today that I was listening to and thought she was wonderful, and I wanted to share it with our audience.
What is
Well,
it?
that's wonderful, but I just wanted to finish up my introduction for her. I was looking around for names today on the internet of famous playwrights, lyric writers, and I just wanted to quickly go down this line. I found William Shakespeare, Henry Ibsen, Oscar Wilde, Tennessee Williams, the most famous Linda Kaufman, Arthur Miller, and Victor Hugo. So Linda is among the most famous in our world. So Linda,
I'm the only one alive of that list.
That is true. Now, Teresa, what would you like to fill in for us?
We're going to give a listen, actually.
You know, every question has an answer, and it doesn't have to be that hard to find.
Oh my God.
You can even close your eyes when you're looking. Use your heart, not your head, and you'll be fine. Just follow your heart. It knows the answers to questions that won't let you go. Don't analyze or compromise. Just let yourself go. You'll follow your heart if you're wise. Hear that voice from within when you're wondering exactly which path you should take. Forget all that chatter. It's what's inside that matters. You'll follow your heart if you're right.
My God, where did you find that? That's me. It'd be much better.
I was so excited when I found it.
That is absolutely amazing. Yes, go ahead, Linda.
That's one of the songs from Esterella, my musical about Queen Esther. And this is when Hege, who's the eunuch in the harem, tries to teach her or tell her that's how to live your life. Follow your heart. So.
It was beautiful and right in alignment with so much of what we share on this podcast. So I thought it was the perfect part of your introduction. And it also gives people a taste of what it's like to know you. Because when I was introducing you earlier on our flyer, just to say, hey, everybody, you know, we're going to be on with Linda Kaufman tonight. If they don't know who you are, it's the woman who turns lemons into showbiz. And I had a wonderful time sharing that with everybody. So here is the share about you. Nobody wants to have hardship in their life, death, illness, undesired financial unfoldments, and the like. And yet they are part of our life experience nonetheless. So how can we pick up the pieces and make joy a priority when we don't feel so joyful? And this is exactly what captivated Peter and I about Linda, who is 86 years young, is as talented in writing and performing in plays as she is in Jewish humor. She turns her life experiences into songs and plays that face head on the hard things in life that people often want to avoid or feel uncomfortable discussing. We need to deal with it to get through it, she says to me during our interview. Her kindred spirit that comes alive behind her radiant presence and twinkling eyes often have people seeing themselves in her words and experiences. The good thing about this is through comedy, she inspires people to put both their feelings and life experiences in perspective to make room for joy.
Wow. There's only one thing that's inaccurate.
Oh, what's that?
I'm 87.
Oh, 87.
And
Well,
we
we want to be truthful, right?
Yeah. Linda, I do want to know, and this is very important to me, and I hope to the listening and watching audience, what inspires you? What motivates you with your amazing writing ability, your creativity? Is there a message that you're trying to disseminate or to give out to the public when you do write your scripts and your plays?
Let's start off with the fact that I'm very easily bored. So I always need to have something to do. So to be honest, my message, count it all joy. You know, that the name of my one-woman show is basically, it's a scripture, it's a New Testament scripture from the book of James. And don't tell all my Jewish friends that I borrowed it. But it's just about, you know, nobody goes through this life without hills, valleys, disappointments, loss. But you can recover from anything, especially when you realize that and it came to pass. The good times don't last, but neither do the bad times. But for me, my car is my prayer closet. When I'm driving in my car, I'm by myself, and that's when ideas come to me. Right now, after 35 years of writing stage plays, I'm starting to work on a screenplay because the lyrics for a melody came to me in the car. I came home and wrote them down, and it's actually going to be a story partly based on my own life, but about a woman who loses her husband in a horrible car crash in which she's in it as well, and that happened to me. But she's convinced that he's going to come back. And so she goes through funny and heartbreaking experiences thinking that this person that she met is actually her dead husband. And of course, it's just been wonderful to work on it. But this all comes from it being in my car. I'm a people person. Well, there's nobody in the car with me but me, so I have to listen to the crazy stuff that comes in my head. So actually, I probably need a psychiatrist instead of an agent. But that's it. And I do have just a bubbly outlook. I was born with it. I didn't get therapy to get it. I don't take pills for it. And it works great in theater. And even Estrella, which just had a revival in November, the fellow who was the director said, "What a show. It's a love story. It's a coming of age story. It's about the struggles for power at the highest levels of government. It includes anti-Semitism, and it's funny." So a lady came up to me at the intermission and said, "I never knew the Bible was so funny." I said, "Well, it's only when Jewish people read it. Otherwise," I know. I hope is offended by
Does your humor reach all sex? Is it primarily written about or geared towards Jewish culture, or do you think
No,
everybody can enjoy
it's
it?
just about life. It's just about life. Senior Moments was really based on my husband, who, God bless him, finally, I hate to say this, but finally died at 99. I mean, it started out as a great marriage, but didn't stay as one. But he had antics and a way of dealing with life and himself that was absolutely comical. He would do something and he would go in the other room to read. I would head to the computer, type out a scene, go to the piano, and come up with a song that went with it. So it's really Albert Kaufman Exposed is what it should be called. But this show about aging, a lot of people come to see it. They come to be entertained. But afterwards, people said to me, "Oh my God, I saw myself up there." I had a scene between a mother and a daughter that just both cared for each other, but never said it to one another. They only talked to other people. I mean, I really dealt with all kinds of issues. My life is like everybody else's life. If you go on my website, you see for my one woman show, I have a little clip and it said, I believe what Maya Angelou said, which is we're much more alike than unalike. We're all kind of living the same human experience. And the way I tell it is with humor, but not all humor, but it's a way that people can see themselves, maybe understand situations better. But even if they don't get the deeper meaning, they've had a great time listening to good music and hopefully a good script. So
one of the things that I liked out of the interview you had with us the other day was you had mentioned a woman came up to you during one of your plays.
yeah.
I'm struggling to recall which one. I think it was Estorella, or it could be Senior Moments. And she said, my husband passed away, a number of years ago. I think it was 20 years ago. And it was like she was stuck in time. And the alternative scene you provided was that you had moved on. You had moved on in the play and you had moved on in real life. And you inspired her to take her life back and make good use of the time that she had. And that is beautiful. Anytime we can encourage somebody to really live fully and lovingly, that's a beautiful thing.
Actually, that was at the one woman show, Count It All.
Okay.
Right?
That was the one woman, yeah.
This was at the Unitarian Church. I'd never been in a Unitarian church, but so that's why you asked me, is it for a Jewish audience? No, it's for anybody. And the interesting thing is I started out kind of pitching it toward older audiences, but when I did it in New York at a private event and a young couple were there, they were in their 40s, and she said, "Listen, this is an intergenerational piece. We have a 17-year-old and a 21-year-old. I want them to see it. Not just the old people who their life is pretty much on the way out. I want to see young people to see this, to see here's a woman who's lived her life, who lost her husband, all the things that happen. And here she is up on the stage singing some crazy song to entertain us." So that's really, I didn't start out to do it that way, but that's the reaction I get.
Now, have you had shows on off Broadway? Have you appeared in shows on off Broadway? No.
No, really, mostly I've done things through community theater or JCCs or whatever. I've done even some private events in homes. The one woman show is just me and my accompanist, who's also my arranger, and he's an amazing jazz pianist. We started together 10 years ago when I first started writing Senior Moments. I heard him playing on a Saturday night. He was still in school, and I went up to him and said, "Hey, I'm starting to write a musical. Would you be my music director?" And he said, "Okay." And neither one of us knew what we were doing, because this was Senior Moments was the first thing I wrote all on my own. So, but he's been with me almost 10 years. He's amazing. And he's learned how to underscore when I'm talking, and he's like a grandson, is what it is, you know. But you know, it's still evolving. You know, I know a friend of mine who lives part of the time in San Antonio and the other part of the year in Connecticut. She said that a lot of her friends that live in Manhattan are doing theater pieces in their apartments, and they charge, and they have maybe drinks and hors d'oeuvres. Then you have the main feature and maybe coffee and dessert after, which would be great, because like the one woman show, it's just me and Aaron, and we that's all we need. We just need a piano and a stool for me to sit on. I bring my own music stand. So we'll see. The thing is, it's all about getting connected with somebody who can get you out there. Every time I do a show, I pray and I think, dear God, send somebody who's going to come up to me and say, hey, I love what you do. I'm going to help you get it out. So I've got plenty of product. You know, what are you looking for? I wrote for 15 years, I wrote a humor column for the Jewish Journal until I ran out of funny things to say about Jewish people, you know. but I that's on, it's called Mishigas, and I put 30 of my columns in a book. It's on Amazon. I just recently put together a memoir about my 14 years living in the Christian world, 9 of which were in a group that became a cult. I mean, what are you looking for? I've lived it. So, you know, and it, you know, plus it's fun interacting with people. And when we did Estorella, people came to me and said, oh my God, this was so funny. We so need to laugh. You're so refreshing. This is such a difficult time in American history and just even in the world. And seeing your stuff just is just delightful. So hopefully I'll be able to get a bigger audience. We'll see.
There was a thing that you mentioned the other day about, well, we all kind of agreed on it, and that became the theme of the show that we're putting together here and now. Here with each other. And it was, you're never too old. You know, you always have the opportunity at any age to start over, to take on something new. A lot of times people get this idea stuck in their head about, I'm too old to do this, or, you know, I'm too late in the game to do this, or whatever the case is. And it's like, our life is here to be lived. And, you know, you're living proof of that, because there's no end in sight. And when I think about you, you're vivacious, you're radiant, you're a go-getter, you're excited, you're exciting. You want to bring joy and laughter to people. And so you just set the tone for that. You just keep it moving, which is awesome, awesome, awesome to see.
But I'm not exceptional. You know, there's anybody who's sitting in the audience can do the same thing. I've been listening to a book. I'm an Audible person. So when I'm riding around in my car, if I don't feel the Spirit talking to me, I'll listen to somebody else. And I've been listening to a book. It's called For You When I'm Gone. And it's actually by Rabbi David Leder from the Wilshire Boulevard Temple in Los Angeles. And he said, you're never too old to be who you always aspire to be. But it's your own head that talks you out of it. You know, I'm right now using a cane. I've had terrible problem with sciatic. You know, I've been through every possible treatment and physical therapy and surgery and nothing. And I thought, oh, well, if it's not going to go away, I have a cane that has jewels on it. And if somebody will hold my left hand, I'll walk and go anywhere. I mean, you just have to go forward, you know, because otherwise, if you're standing still, you're going backwards, because the world is moving ahead.
What is your dream, Linda? What's your dream for now and in the future?
I think my first dream is I want one of my songs to make it into the big world of, you know, a song that'll be played years from now. I've gone to a Diana Krall concert because I have a song that I was commissioned to write. It's called Home for the Holidays. It's a Christmas song in the style of the 40s. It's beautiful. And it got on an album here in town, but sure enough, after we recorded it, then they decided not to distribute it. But when my mother died at 92, I got to go through some of her old paperwork. And in there, I found a piece of paper from the U.S. Copyright Office that my father had copyrighted a song in 1949. I was 12 years old at the time. And I thought, wow, my dad wanted to have a hit song. So to me, that would be my fondest dream, that I would fulfill my dad's desire to have a hit song. That's number one. Because until this one woman show, I've not been a performer. I've been the writer. I've been helping with marketing. But until this, I didn't go on stage. And the only reason I went on stage is a young man that I met through someone here put me in touch with a guy who has a small theater in New York. We were talking about bringing senior moments there. And we finally, after many Zoom calls and laughter and stories and whatever, he said, Linda, you have to have money to do that. Somebody's got to rent the theater. You're going to have to hire a local cast. You've got the personality. It's your music. Put together a one-woman show and let's see where that goes. And then if people connect with you, they'll possibly want to see whatever else you've written. So that's where I am. I don't know where I'm headed, but I'm ready. I got new luggage.
I love it. It's surprising to me that this is your one woman show is the first time that you've done any acting, because you have such a really great personality that comes through with everything you do.
Well, after I got off the phone with Peter, the guy in New York, I started asking all my theater friends, people who've been in my shows, who've done my sets and music and lighting. And I said, what would you think if I did a show of my own? And they said, do you know how many times we've told you that? Well, I never heard it. So, yeah, I guess. I heard Ellen DeGeneres was stepping down. I thought, well, I wouldn't mind doing a nice talk show. That would be
I could totally see that. Lori Kelly says, get her to speak of the voice that pinged her throughout her life.
Yeah. Right. Well, the thing is, I'm best shooting from the hip. It's really even hard for me to do the one-woman show because I can't go off one way and I can't interact with the audience. It's a show, so it's very confining. And right before I started writing it, at age 70, my husband got involved in a Ponzi scheme, lost almost all of our money. So at age 70, I got my real estate license. And the thing is, I learned from that people skills, how to get out there, how to talk to people standing in line at the movies or at McDonald's or whatever, because real estate is all about people. It's all about people skills. Anybody can do the paperwork, but if you're going to sell real estate, you've got to have people skills. So I've just been a long time developing. So that's it. What's ahead?
I have a question. Yeah, I have a question for you. Are there any funny, ironic ideas that you can extrapolate from selling real estate? There must be some funny moments that you've. Yes, have you ever thought about that?
Now. Okay, so listen to
Go
this.
ahead.
So we have a continuing education school for seniors. So I thought, wow, this would be a good place I could get some clients. So I went in to talk to the lady who sets up the curriculum. And I said, I'd like to teach. You don't get paid for it, but it's a way to expand people that you would interact with. So I said, I would like to teach a class. And she said, oh, what would you like to teach? So humor is my go-to. I said, I would like to teach a class on how to write a bad song. And she said, well, why would anybody want to learn that? I said, well, that's just the intro. I could actually teach them how songs are put together, because if I do it incorrectly, they're going to know, even though they know nothing about it. She said, well, this woman had no sense of humor. No, she said, why don't you teach a class on downsizing, because you're in real estate? So I said, oh, okay. So let me tell you that 3 years ago, I lost 100 pounds. Okay. I had nothing to do during the pandemic or the year after. And I've been plagued with weight issues all my life. And for whatever reason, the curse lifted and I was just able to get rid of the weight. It took me about 2.5 years. Anyway, when I gave this class, I was a big lady. Okay. So I thought the class was going to be on Thursday. So I thought, well, I better call. I thought I'll go in and make something up. So I call on Thursday. I said, how many people signed up for this class? 42. I thought, oh my God, I better prepare something. So my broker said, you'll write a song. So I wrote a song, throw it out, throw it out. You can live without it, throw it out. All those things you've been changing and keep rearranging. Don't you know your life is changing? Throw it out. Anyway, I brought my keyboard. Anyway, and I had this group of 40 people. And then I thought, this is an hour-and-a-half class. I mean, what does it take to tell somebody how to downsize? You find a room in your house, you put in there all the things you want to take. Then you label stuff. You're going to give it away. You're going to sell it. You're going to give it to family. That's 15 minutes. What am I going to do for the next hour and 15? So I thought, I'll go around the room and I'll ask people why they signed up for the class. So one lady said, oh, I thought it was a weight loss class. Downsizing. I said, well, actually, it isn't. And 4 other people got up and left. So they.
That is cute. That is funny.
So people said, but you don't understand. I have Aunt Tilly's dining room set. I can't give it away. I said, can you take it to where you're moving? No. I've been in houses, and I'm a card-carrying thrower-outer. So in a lot of ways, this has been a shock to me in real estate, to go in people's homes and they have enough for 5 houses in one. I've been in houses that have 3 dining room sets in the dining room. And it's like, really? And then they eat in the kitchen, but it was really quite an experience. I was really performing that day. And, but I got a couple clients from it, and a lot of my real estate clients have become lifelong friends, but,
Yes.
I guess I've been a comic all along, but not in any kind of a formal way. And actually, when I did the last one-woman show up in Marble Falls, which is a lovely community, like 90 miles north of San Antonio, a gentleman came up to me. Well, he actually came with someone else that I knew from the theater, and he told his friend, and this guy is president of the Austin Symphony. He said, this woman needs her own show. So I thought, but see, people say that, but then where's the person who says, hey, I want you to have your own shows. So I'm available. So we'll see. It's that magical something that the universe alone knows the right timing, the right person, the right vehicle. Yes. All of it. Once I started writing this stage play, which I have a friend who is a film composer. He said, this screenplay. He said, we can use your songs as part of the score. So then I've been all upset. What am I going to wear to the Academy Awards? I just don't have anything. I have a lot of brown pants and tops. So if there's something to worry about, I can find it,
Well, I've got to say to you, I've got to interject this. Every time I watch the Academy Awards or the after awards, women normally show up practically with no clothes on,
Well,
we've gone from the, we've gone from the 20s where women were glamorous, and today these women show up, and it's borderline.
I can tell you, I will not do that. I will not.
Yes, well,
she'll wear a scarf with her ensemble. It's fine.
She'll wear a scarf. Now, you mentioned your father. You mentioned Charles was also very creative.
Yes.
If I heard you, yes.
My dad.
Go ahead.
Also, among these pictures that the things I found when my mother died, I found pictures of my father in front of Paramount Pictures. And I think what happened, though, when I grew up, people didn't talk about, and I don't know, parents and kids didn't talk the way like we're talking right now. And my father obviously went out to California and was working at Paramount Pictures in the late 1920s. He must have come east to see his parents, met my mother. My mother thought New Jersey was the wilderness. There's no way she would have ever moved to. She didn't even think New Jersey had indoor. Did they have toilets? So there's no way she would have ever gone to California. I need you in my audience. You're my best audience. But the thing is, I come alive in California. I do love it out there. It's because people are out there fulfilling their dreams. And, I went out for like a year and a half. I met the husband, actually my third husband there. It's so confusing. I'm just not the kind of person to marry 3 times, but here I am. I mean, my first husband went to rabbinical school. I met him in college. He was 2 years ahead of me. And after 9 years of marriage, he wanted a divorce because this is all on my one woman show. He told me I was emasculating him. I said, is that with an E or an I? I never heard that word. I wanted to look it up. And so 35 years later, I moved to San Antonio. He was at the time when we divorced. We were living in Austin. He was the Hillel rabbi at UT Austin. 35 years later, I went to the temple here in San Antonio. When we went through the line and I met the rabbi and his wife, the rabbi's wife said to me, "Ooh, I know who you are." I said, "Really? Who am I?" She said, "You're the wife of that Hillel director from back in the 60s. He was having an affair with our associate rabbi's wife, who later committed suicide over that situation." I said, "Oh, so it really wasn't because I was emasculating him." But, do
you need some water, dear?
Talk amongst yourselves.
That was actually some water. That was going to be one of my questions. I mean, keep going with what you're talking about because it's interesting, but I would like it if you weaved your husband's story into what California meant to you, because it's something I read when I was going through your stuff and listened to when I found that piece that I shared with you guys earlier. So keep going with where you're at, but that's my next question.
Okay, so after the accident and after, it took me a while to get healed myself. I got a job teaching 5th grade, and for 3 years, I was still in the church world, but not the cult world. And I didn't really know how to jumpstart my life. Both of my girls within that time period had gotten married. They got married young. And I was like 49. I was 46 when we had the accident. So I was like 49 years old. And I heard about a master's program in Tulsa that was church oriented, but it was about songwriting and it was about music. And I thought, you know what? I need to break out of my mold and try it. So I went there and it was amazing. The first year was just wonderful. And then the second year, this is one of those huge 5,000 member mega churches in Tulsa. And at the end of the first year, the music minister said to me, hey, if you're not going back to San Antonio right away, I'd like you to head up the drama ministry. I said, what drama ministry? He said, yeah, we don't have one, but I bet you could do it. And that's when I started writing little 20-minute pulpit plays with a song for each one, which is really what Senior Moments became. It's a series of little vignettes about getting older. But after 2 years, and I had a wonderful time there. I mean, it was like a renewal, a rebirth. And this is when I first realized I could even write a song or come up with a script, whatever. And it was toward the end of the second year there, the pastor got up at a Sunday morning service and said, if there are any homosexuals in our congregation, please raise your hand so we can escort you out. And I thought, I don't believe that. So everybody else just went home. I went right down the aisle and I said, how could you say that? Whatever happened? And they'll know we are Christians by our love. He said, oh no, these people are sinners and they don't belong in the congregation of the righteous. I said, well, I don't know if any homosexuals left, but this is the last time you'll see me. And that was the end of my church experience. And it was after that, I had a month or so to go because I had to finish up teaching piano students. I flew out to LA just for a weekend to clear my head, not knowing what the next step was. The minute I got out of the plane in LAX, it's like I knew that I knew I was supposed to move there. It was incredible. It was like a divine impartation of knowledge. And it was ridiculous. I had like no job, $10,000 in the bank. I mean, you just don't move. And I certainly didn't want to be in the movies, but I went to stay with my friend. And after the weekend on Sunday, I said, you know what? I'm moving out here. So at age 52, I packed up all my stuff, got in my car, and drove to Los Angeles. The minute I got into LA County, I had that excited feeling about being in the right place. And I had to find an apartment, and I found an apartment on, it was Beverly Hills adjacent, which means if you stood on the roof and there wasn't too much smog, you could sort of see it, but anyway, the landlord was a Holocaust survivor. And I didn't know what it cost. And I said, oh, I love the apartment. How much is it? Well, it was like, $1,600 a month or something. I said, oh, I could never pay that. He said, what could you pay? I said, well, I don't even have a job yet. What about 800 or 900? He said, you'll pay what you can pay. And if you can pay more, you will. And I'm not going to give you a lease because who knows, you could meet somebody and then you'll move to have your own place. So talk about, divine favor, and so while I was there is when I took a screenwriting class for a weekend, and I met a woman there, a girl really, and neither one of us got the hang at that time of writing a screenplay. But I told her my idea of writing Estorella as a stage play with the whole story, but humor and music and whatever. And that's what started me on writing for theater rather than writing for movies. But it's time to return. And this summer, I'm working on this right now. I'm definitely going to go out. I've kept in touch with all my friends out there, film composers. One guy, they always ask me, send us your music. They all love it. This is great. This is wonderful. I said, stop telling me that and help me do something with it. But, they all have their own little world. And at the time, the film composer said, if you were living out here, I could hire you to write melodies. You write gorgeous melodies. But, that was that was 1989, 1990. So instead, I married a guy that I met out there, and we wound up moving back here because my older daughter, who was married, called to tell me she was pregnant with my first grandchild. And so we moved back here, and I've been here ever since. But his twin sister lived in Beverly Hills. So we used to go 3 times a year out to LA. And to me, it's like Mecca. It's something, it's just, and I know that now I need to make time to get out there, So I'm sick of hearing myself talk. Doesn't anybody else have something to say?
But do you plan on traveling back and forth between where you're at now and California?
Pardon?
Do you plan on traveling back and forth where you're at now in California?
Go for a week or 10 days this summer. I want to see if I can get how much I can get done on this screenplay. So during the pandemic, I saw online. I thought it was the guy who was head of the UCLA screenwriting department. He was the guy who I took the class from. I thought I saw online that he was teaching an online class. So I thought, oh, it's the pandemic. I can't go anywhere. My husband was already living in an assisted living. So I called the number, and the lady said, oh no, Professor, I forgot what's his last name. He's retired, but I'll give you his home email. Well, I texted him. We started talking. He's become a friend, and he said, I'm going to hook you up with my co-chair who now lives in New York, and you'll take some classes with him. So I took, a class with him online with other people. I wanted to tell the story of a Jewish family who got involved in charismatic Christianity. And he said, I never heard a story like that. So I never got the hang of writing it. So at the end of it, being Jewish, and he was a Jewish guy too, and older, I thought, well, I'm just going to be pretty chutzpahdik, nervy. And I said, hey, listen, I know I've got a great story, but I don't have the writing chops. Would you consider collaborating? And he said, absolutely. So we have, after like 12 drafts, we've got that ready. I have so many different things. If one of them would pop, they could all pop, So we'll see. I can hardly.
Our last guest, Ken Elliott, does a lot about manifesting, and he even has a book on it. And there's a lot of things. Peter and I both teach it, offer it. Nancy, our other show co-host that I work with, she does it as well. So maybe manifesting is the way to go for you, trusting yourself to allow the universe to support that for you instead of thinking how it has to come from you.
Great. And the first time I feel I can actually authentically do that is since I came up with the idea of writing a screenplay.
That's good.
The other has been in the trenches, calling, emailing, begging, paying for it myself. It's just like I can't get any lift off. And I thought, why can't I get lift off? And maybe I'm in the wrong medium. But I'm really excited about this screenplay. It's really going to involve time travel and interesting things. I've been watching movies about that, and Peter's wonderful at that, right? The first time I had a reading from Peter, before he said anything, he looked up and said, I'll tell her. And I said, who are you talking to? And he said, the whole family's there. They all want to say something.
Is that how you and Peter met? Because that was going to be one of my other questions was, how did you and Peter met, and how did we get here together?
Well, let Peter tell.
Well, I was going to wait actually for the program to be produced. And the way in which Linda and I met is years ago, many, many, many years ago. I would say about 5 to 10 years ago. I myself was searching on the internet for people that may be part of my family. And I gave up. And it happened where Linda and my mother connected.
No, my daughter and your mother.
What's that?
It was my daughter Debbie and your mother.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Her daughter Deb and my mother connected. And ultimately, my mother came to me and my mother said, I've got a surprise for you. And I said, should I sit down? And she said, I think so. And I said, what's the surprise? And she said, I found your cousin.
Yes.
So ultimately, what had happened is Linda's aunt was my grandmother.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I realized at that particular time that we started to speak, and she's flown from Texas to Florida because we have family. We have first cousins that live in Florida. I haven't been able to make the trip as yet, but I realized my mother had said to me, my God, there's such talent in our family. You really should get to know Debbie. You've got to get to know Linda.
Right.
So it came to be that my grandmother married, my grandmother was a society lady, brilliant woman, very, very creative. And my grandfather lost my maternal grandmother, got married again, and my grandmother knew, and unfortunately she's not still here, but she knew a lot of actors and actresses, including Kitty Carlisle Hart. And my grandmother was a very sophisticated woman. She traveled all over the world. And I later realized that Linda, all of us, had a common denominator with our family. So I was going to wait until the end of the show to tell that to the audience and you.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's so
But
funny.
we've never met. You know, we've just...
we've never met. We've never met in person. But I also realized, because I was telling Linda that I projected at a young age fame. I visualized, I saw it in my mind, I created it. And I said to her, and I do feel this way, I think Linda is extremely talented. She is so funny. I've looked at her website. She's enormously creative. And I said to her, I am going to step in and I'm going to facilitate and assist you on getting the people that you need in order to bring your scripts and your writing to the public. Because every time I see something that she has written, I actually I'm in stitches. So I hope you didn't mind me waiting, Teresa, before I told you that we're related.
Yeah.
I don't mind you waiting. I'm like, oh my God, Peter actually kept a secret from me that never happens.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's all connected. We're all connected anyway, even if it wasn't through this. But he's always told me there's big things ahead for you, you know, and I think this one woman show, I really want to do it in California. If I can, the door would open up for me to do it in LA. Doing things around here, people love it and enjoy it, but there's no follow-up or no follow-through. I need to do it in Los Angeles. So I'm going to try to test that. That would be great.
We're going to put
what?
Out forward in this podcast, because years ago, and I'm going to say this quickly, years ago, a friend of mine said to me, how are you going to become well known if you're not on TV or radio? And I was a nervous wreck back then. And I said, I'll come on as long as it's taped and we can edit it. And my friend didn't tell me the truth. I went on the show, I did readings, and then I didn't realize it was a live show. And she said, Peter, I had to do this for you. So My friend did that for me about 25 years ago. And truthfully, Linda, if you weren't talented and you weren't as amazing as you are, I wouldn't have suggested that you come on. But I wanted to share your, not only your beautiful presence with the world, but that wonderful creative mind and that smile. You're brimming with the energy that you need in order to really be discovered in society and to have a name. And believe it or not, I feel one day you probably will end up with these other famous screenwriters and writers from our history, from our past. But you've got everything you need, and all you have to do is believe in yourself.
Well,
that is very true.
You agree?
I agree in that. So for me personally, when it comes to manifesting, it's a two-way street. The abundance, the opportunity is there for us at all times, but it's about us coming into the realization that A, we are it, and B, we can align to it. So when we talk about getting in alignment with it, it's about letting ourselves be the receiver of it. You know, if it feels like sometimes, like there's steps that I go through when I teach my manifestation classes, and I always say step 3 and step 5 are the hardest. And step 3 is know that you're deserving or worthy, or know that it can happen for you. And 5 is once you have gone through steps 1 through 4, release it to source and let source figure it out for you. And you hold yourself in a space where you can trust and hold I'm so excited that this is going to happen for me. I'm so excited that source is going to figure out a way to make me a cooperative component and my vibration a match, and me be allowed to or hold a space inside that's going to resonate with something that's already available to me and open up my eyes and give me clarity, creativity, vision, and excitement that says this can be mine and I can live this. So it's instead of pinching yourself away from the wanted experience, you're opening up your whole self and saying, I'm ready to be that channel. I'm ready to have that experience. And you have all the talent in the world, a beautiful presence, wonderful personality, a great big heart, and something really nice to share with people. If people go on YouTube and listen to Senior Moments, you're sharing life experiences in a comical way. You've been through different things, and this is something we spoke about on when we last spoke, which was, you know, I was picking your brain a little bit. Why do you do these things, and what is the inspiration? And you said, you know, I've been through the loss of my husband, which is hard. I've been through financial up and down. I've been through all these different life experiences, but I never wanted those life experiences to stop me from having an enjoyable life, to coming to joy. The biggest wisdom I can share in this world is having faith, because the faith in our creator is what really gets you through. And you don't need a book or a religion. Like you said how you had learned those things separate from religion, and it was really between you and that higher power that you just felt plugged in and connected. And when you were sharing your stories, you're saying, listen, we get old, we have experiences, we have moments where we question ourselves, we have moments where we accomplish great things, we have moments when we're afraid, we have moments when we don't know where we're going, and you capture all this life experience and put it in a song and comedy, and then you share that with people, and so many people come up to you at the end and say, I saw myself in that. I felt myself in that. Absolutely. That's an experience that I've had. And people, sometimes it's a little hard for people to relate to me because I'm having the conversation part of it. It seems sometimes maybe a little bit like woo-woo because it's so spiritually rooted and I'm talking about something up here. But you're taking these big ideas and making them relatable and human. People see themselves in you. And relatability is one of the most important factors between human connection. So you're doing this great thing. You're providing a really beautiful thing. Why shouldn't you get the opportunity to go be out in California or wherever your heart desires to go and share this gift that you've created with the world? It's not just for
Yeah, I
you.
agree.
Oh no, that's
I
quite.
also,
What?
yeah, I'm sorry. I wanted to mention also, if people want to know more about my wonderful, amazing cousin, Linda, they can go to www.lindakaufman, Kaufman, musicals.com and find out about her. And if there are any producers or directors or writers, and if any of my Hollywood friends are watching this podcast, I want to say personally from me, she is an amazing creative woman. How can she not be? She's from the walk-off side of my family. So, yeah, she. I think this is going to be your year, and I do feel that you're going to be recognized.
I feel that too. You know, and I'm totally at peace about it. I mean, I'm excited to see the doors open up. It's interesting. Right before I started writing the one-woman show, a gal who I've always used as my escrow officer at the title company in real estate called me all excited. Linda, I dreamt about you last night. I said, oh, what was it? She said, in my dream, I turned on the TV, and there you were on Stephen Colbert, and you were pitching your new book. I didn't even know you wrote a first book. But, you know, so I've had inklings of what's ahead. And I really feel working on the screenplay is part of it, but I need to get to LA. That's my that's my Oz. You know, that's when I step into the Technicolor world of the Kingdom of Oz and see what's out there for me. So.
Peter, I know that you know about, I think it's called astrocartography, where your astrology meets geography. Have you ever done this for Linda? Like, is there a planet that's over California that really heightens her up? Venus, Mercury, Sun, that sort of thing?
Yes, actually, I brought up her chart.
I got you, Linda.
Before, I brought up her chart before. She's very congruent with California without a shadow of a doubt. Yes, it is there. She also has her south node at 5 degrees, 12 minutes of Gemini, and her north node is at 5 degrees of Sag, 12 minutes. What does this mean? It means the creativity of writing, speaking, directing, all of that is in acting. It's all there in her chart. And this year, actually, when Pluto went into Aquarius, it's now conjuncting her Mars at 23 degrees of Aquarius. So right now, the energy is increasing, and this is going to catapult her into stardom. So it's starting.
Beautiful. Yeah, it definitely feels like the doors are open and everything's happening. Yeah. And what I love about you, Linda, is you're so motivated. You're ready. You know, some people come up with ideas in their head about why they should not and why they are afraid and why they cannot. And you are not that person. No. And, you know, part of the reason that I mentioned your age earlier was that because there's people who are younger, older than you, who give themselves reasons. People, I mean, I'm 37 now. I have people who are in my age group that talk about, I'm getting too old. I got to do that. They have narratives in their head about what they should be based on the number that they are. And you break that mold entirely where you say, no, I mean, I'm 87 years young. I'm going to be a famous screenwriter, and I'm going to move to California, and I'm going to hang out with movie stars, and I'm going to write books, and you have something to do every minute of every day, and you're just so excited to be alive and keep the doors open for yourself and other people, and you share your stuff along the way, whatever it is you experience, the highs and the lows, and keep relating to people. Like, isn't that so magical? Like, I just adore that.
Yeah. Yes. That's just the way it is. You know, I don't know if I'd even move to California, but I know that I need to spend time there for sure because I'm in a wonderful.
California.
My whole family is here. What?
Oh, California is not the only connection anymore. A lot of people, by the way, because of the wildfires, a lot of
Yeah.
people are moving out of California and they're going to New York and they're going to the Midwest and Florida. So we don't have to rely on California necessarily to find you exposure. But the guides are telling me they're working with you. And they're saying right now the energy is going to be augmented, and we just have to keep on going, and we will make the right connections with the right people to get you exposure.
Yeah, connections are everywhere, but energy to a location is specific to that location. It's history, it's ley line, it's a motive, offerings that it gives. Like when I used to live out in Vegas, it was I felt so liberated and free. And now that I live in New York, I love living here and I love all the people that I'm surrounded by. I have the most incredible people that I'm surrounded by. But I miss being out west. The energy out west as opposed to New York and is so different for me. And I haven't been out there in a few years, so there's a lot that has changed. But arriving to Vegas, getting off the plane and absorbing the mountains and the energy that was there, I felt alive. Like my body didn't know which way to move first. I just wanted to explode in thousands of particles and let the wind take me. So I get what you're saying, Linda.
Yeah. We will do a part 2. The guides are saying we should do a part 2 with Linda as she progresses with her work and have her on as a guest again.
That would be beautiful. Linda, you know what? You're on the spot. We're all watching now. You have to get your summer trip to California accomplished. You have to get all the writing and connections done. And we'll see you back for part 2 when you have an update for us of your journey.
Okay, I'll do it.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Thank you for being a part of tonight. We appreciate it. Thank you, Peter, for making this happen for us.
Okay.
Well, I want to thank my cousin and I want to thank you. I also want to say I enjoy coming on to these podcasts. Teresa, without your wonderful energy and what you contribute, this podcast would not be possible. And I'm also very excited for Linda because I'm being shown and told that this is just the beginning. So let's go forward and let things unfold. And I'm anxious and I'm excited about part 2 with her.
I have to say, aside from Peter being one of my best friends, I've had myself receive readings from him. And once I received a reading and felt its accuracy, I'm a reader, I'm surrounded by friends who are readers, but Peter intrigued me to go get a reading done with him. So I get my reading and at this point we're friends and we know each other, and sometimes that inhibits people from getting readings because you think you know so much about me, or I know so much about you, or I'm also a reader, and it has to be something that you resonate in your soul with to say, I feel like there's a connection between you and I. And even if one door opens, one sentence gets said, that one sentence or one door can change your life. So when I got read by Peter, there was so many unexpected things that he said to me that came through. And I'm sitting on the other side of their manifestations in my life. And I'm going, oh my God, like it's amazing what I love about it is we can talk every day. We can have this exchange with each other every day. We talk about anything from alien spaceships, Atlantis history, friends, the things that go on in our mundane reality. And still, when I sat down for that reading, there was a whole other assortment of information that was shared. And I loved what I was read so much. I said, my sister's birthday's coming up. She would like a reading. She would always be, game for a reader that she resonated with. So I had her get a reading and that went fantastically. And then I shared it with friends and that went fantastically. So I guess the point that I'm trying to share is, aside from Peter being one of my best friends, he's also a reader that I value very much getting read by, and I enjoy the things that he shares with me. And what I've come to know about Peter is that he's shown me an opportunity, shown me a reality, a level of consciousness, a world possible for me that in that moment I did not see. And when he opened that door for me, I walked through that door and began living that life and owning it was really great, you know, because this podcast even, and I'm just going to take a few more moments of your time, even this podcast, Peter's experience was his friend getting him on live TV, telling him that it was recorded, and then saying, well, out of love, I tricked you because you deserve to have this door open for you. And, you know, we do such a good job sometimes of holding ourselves back or keep playing small just because we don't know what to expect on the other side of the things that we want. But Peter lovingly bamboozled me in the same way. He had me go on a podcast when I was first starting out. I'd never been on a podcast before. And he calls me up one day, maybe it's Tuesday, and said, I'd like you to go on a podcast with me tonight around 7:00 tonight. And I said, okay, great. What's it about? And who is it? And he goes, that's okay. It's just spiritual people talking about spiritual things. I said, all right, you know, a little trepidatious, but I trust Peter. And then maybe an hour or so before we go on the show, Peter calls me and said, honey, I'm not going to make it tonight. I'm not feeling that great, but don't worry. I have friends on there. You'll be fine. It's just spiritual people talking about spiritual things. So, you know, I get on the show an hour later, fumble around with the technology, and I finally get on and I'm like, hi, everybody. How are you? You know, nice to meet you. What is our topic of conversation for tonight? Spiritual people, spiritual things. And they go, we're interviewing you. I wanted to shut down the computer and run for my life. But I winded up making it through, and I called Peter afterward. I go, what? And he goes, if you can get through that, you can do anything. And I put you in the same fire I was in 25 years ago. And I evidently, you know, with all love, has shined and flew. And now, you know, we started this podcast in May, and now here we are. And he opened the doors to a whole new reality for me and a new community and people and connection. If you asked me about any of this last year, I was too shy and it wasn't my world. And then we wouldn't have this podcast or the community that's here with us, that grows with us every day. So Peter opens the door is what I'm trying to say.
I try to. And I'm going to work on Andrew Lloyd Webber for Linda. I am going to work on manifesting Andrew Lloyd Webber and the other screenwriters and the other playwrights. We're going places. So
I'm not on their level, but thank you.
See, right there, Linda, you're on their level, and you don't need to be on anyone else's level, but your own creative wonderfulness.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm creating the energy. Anyway, it's been a pleasure having you on, dear. We will have you on again, and I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Okay. Excuse me, I have to go because I'm manifesting.
Ooh. Well, everyone have a wonderful night. It's been a wonderful opportunity to spend our time with this community once again, and we'll see you next time for Cosmic Tea Hour.
Okay, bye.
No, bye.